Hello everyone, I cordially welcome you all to another video from the React tutorial series, and in this video we are going to discuss on refs in React. So without any delay, let's get started. First of all, what are refs? Refs is an abbreviation for references in React. Like keys, refs are also attributes which helps to store a reference to any particular DOM node within our JSX element. It provides a way to access DOM nodes or elements and show how we developers write code to interact with it or change value of the child component without accessing props and all. So basically, as we have already said, refs basically stands for references, and in JSX, refs are basically used to point to any DOM node, and slowly we will learn how by referencing DOM nodes we can manipulate it using the refs. In the below given situations, we can use refs which can be beneficial. Point number 1. When we need to interact with the browser DOM and update it based on certain situations. Point number 2. Great to use with animations. Point number 3. Can be used with third-party libraries downloaded from NPM. The last but not the least can be used as in callbacks. Okay. In React, when we use refs with an element, we can access the reference to the DOM node using the current property. So remember this one thing which I am going to tell you now. Whenever you point any DOM node using the refs in React, you get access to a property known as current. That basically helps you to reference the DOM node particularly and to manipulate it or focus at it, as we are slowly going to learn. Now what will be stored in the current property depends on where ref have been used. When we use ref attribute with HTML element, we can access its underlying DOM element with current property. When used on class component, we can access the mounted instance. Okay. So I hope by this the theoretical part of refs is clear with you. Now let's move to the code and learn by doing a hands-on. So welcome to the VS Code, and here as you can see, I have created a folder or a directory named refs, and inside it we have an index.tsx file. Now this index.tsx file basically holds our login form component. Okay. Here I will explain you line by line how we have implemented refs and how that is beneficial, and even I will tell you how in future you can use it for your project. Okay. First of all, we have imported React, and thereafter we have created our component known as login form. As you can understand by the structure, it is a class component. So I hope till now it's clear how we create class components in React. So class login form extends from React's component class. Here we define the types for state and props. So as here we are not using any props or local state variable, so I have just used empty pair of curly braces. After that, I have defined the variable which will be used to reference our DOM node. Here I have named it as input element, and I have set it as private. So if you are familiar with any object-oriented programming language, you know about the access controls. So by setting this variable as private, we can access this variable only within our class file. Okay. Now this variable will be of type react.referenceObject, and here we have said it will point to an input element. Okay. Thereafter we have defined our React constructor. So here, as we are not using any props, I have set the type of the props as any, as we are using TypeScript, but any is not a good solution in this case. Whenever you use any props in React, you have to define its types depending on the value received from the parent component. But here, as props is not my main concern, so I have just wrote here any. After that, we have assigned the variable with the reference object. That is basically we have created an instance and we have assigned it to the variable using the this keyword. So if you are familiar with object-oriented programming, you know in object-oriented programming we use this keyword to point to any class variables. Okay. Thereafter I have written the method which will help us to accomplish our task. Basically, whenever our input element will point to any input type text, and whenever this function will be called focus element, it will focus our input type text field. Okay. Thereafter we have our render method, which you are already aware. It returns a JSX code which gets rendered on the UI. In it we have our return, and within return I have an input type text, and this input type text is basically referenced by this dot input element reference object. Okay, and finally we have our button. On click we will trigger this focus element method. Now what will happen, basically when you will click on this focus input, this input element will be focused on the UI. Finally I have exported this component. Thereafter I have imported this component in our main app.tsx file, and then I have used it. So basically our app component is the parent component, and our index.tsx, which holds the login form, it is a child component. Okay, so let's run our code and see if it's working. So first of all we will go to the terminal and write npm start, as you are already aware by now how we start a React application. So as you can see, our application has started. Here we have an input field and a focus input. So if this works, whenever we will click on this focus input button, it will focus this input type text field. So let's click on it and see if it's working. So great, it's working, and we can type here directly. So this is what we used ref for. Not only this, but you can use ref for many other purpose. For any event, if you want to change the CSS of your DOM node, or if you want to do any additional thing with your DOM node, you can use ref. Now let's go back to the slide and see what's there. So I hope by now the concept of refs in React and its implementation is clear with you. So I hope you like this video. In case you like it, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We are going to bring more videos in the future. For any queries, doubts, suggestions or feedbacks, feel free to post them in the comment section. We are going to reply. So thank you for now. See you in the next video. Bye.